Guys, welcome back. It is another night of 13 nights at Tiki Frights. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. Tonight we're going to be giving away Squid's big old booty. If you don't know Squid, Dave, he's an amazing sculptor of ceramic mugs. He's done hundreds of mugs, including some of the earliest Tiki Farm mugs. And he sculpted this, and it was produced by Tiki Bauer. So one lucky winner is going to get to own Squid's big old booty Tiki mug. We're going to announce that at the end of tonight's live stream. Before that, we're excited to talk to Adrian Stoner from Plantation Rum. Plantation Rum does sponsor 13 Nights at Tiki Frights. We're also excited to talk to the legendary Captain David, the Captain's Cabin in Phoenix. If you're not aware, it's a super cool speakeasy just outside of Hula's Modern Tiki. And the last time I went to Arizona Tiki Oasis, I can say without a doubt, the best cocktails I had all weekend were from Captain David at the Captain's Cabin in Phoenix, Arizona. So super excited to talk to him. Real quick, we are sponsored by Tiki Farm. Tiki Farm is the world's largest manufacturer of high-end mugs. Holden Westland joined us earlier in the season, and so we had a whole video dedicated to Tiki Farm and Holden Westland. Go check it out. Subscribe to our channel. And then, of course, we are also sponsored by Dawn the Beachcomber. The official, legitimate Dawn the Beachcomber is coming back in a big way to Florida, and they've announced a phased opening for multiple locations in Florida and beyond. We did a video with Marie King, talk all about it, so you can go back and watch that video as well. But with that said, we're excited to get talking to both Adrian and Captain David. So let's talk to Plantation Rum and see what they got going on.
Howdy.
Aloha.
Aloha. Sorry, I keep saying howdy because I'm in Nashville. It's a bad habit.
That's okay. How long you been in Nashville for?
I moved last July of 2022, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah.
How is
finally
it?
left Chicago. The winters are awesome. No complaints there. But yeah, it's been
In
good.
fairness, I feel like the bar was set pretty low for Chicago. I mean, I say this, I'm from New Hampshire, so it's not much better here. But yeah, anywhere is better in the winter than Chicago.
I love Chicago. I really do. I miss the city for a lot of reasons. I still have a lot of friends and family there, but you know, got to try something new. Get some warmer weather, for sure.
100%. Although it's getting colder here.
Ew.
But it's okay. We'll weather the storm. I'm super excited to talk to you again. You were a guest on our show last year. And I have to say thank you, not just to you, but Plantation Rum as a whole for sponsoring 13 Nights at Tiki Frights and making all of this possible.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy to be here always. You know, I love the search for Tiki. I love Tiki mugs myself. I got my Elvira here to celebrate Halloween. And yeah, as a former Tiki bartender, you know, it's nice to be a part of the community. I'm always glad to be back.
Well, thank you. I do have some questions. I'm hoping I can pick your brain about Plantation Rum a little bit before we talk to Captain David.
Sure.
You know, you guys have a wide spectrum of rums. You have, I mean, I don't know for sure, but it seems like you maybe have more rums than any other company, at least on the liquor stores where I'm around. You go in there and you've got a healthy spread of different choices. What's the #1 most popular bottle of Plantation Rum?
Well, it depends on who you ask.
Okay.
I guess our most popular at stores actually is the XO, the Plantation XO. It's the 20th anniversary Barbados. Yeah, that one. Mm-hmm.
And this is more. I sip it. I don't put this in cocktails necessarily. This is a sipping rum for me. Anyway.
I really like it as a sipping rum. I kind of like it as like an espresso martini too. I think it's just a nice after dinner drink any way you cut it. But in bars and, you know, bars, the probably the most popular would be 3-Star, maybe the pineapple. Pineapple's been up there for years since we launched, and, you know, thankfully won Best New Spirit when that came out. And then OFCD, obviously. forever. Like
Yep.
if you ask the tiki people like myself, it would be OFTD for sure.
I guess that makes sense because if you're buying rum, then you'd probably do sipping, but in a bar, you'd want the cocktails. So
Yeah.
it would make sense that there would be a disparity there. Talking about Plantation Stiggins Fancy Pineapple, this is the smoky one, but I'm not usually a fan of flavored rums. Okay, it's not my biggest thing, but when I tried this with skepticism, I loved it. It's way better than any of the other flavored rums. I don't know how you guys did it, but did you anticipate how popular it would be?
No. And honestly, because when the brand launched, it was to show off diversity of rum. We had all these special vintages from around the world, single origin, that were 9 years old, 10 years old, and older. And then we made this one-off thing just as a gift for the bartenders at Tales of the Cocktail, their bartender apprentice program, the CAPS. And it was just going to be a one-off thing, and they loved it so much that we had to make a lot of it. I see the comment. So what I think our pineapple rum, how it's different is because it's infused and also a new distillate. So we take an infusion of the pineapple bark, and after we infuse it with a white rum, a blend of Trinidad, Jamaica, Barbados, we redistill that. So we're like concentrating the oils, like the essence of pineapple, and then we mix that with an aged rum infusion with the the fleshier part of the pineapple that have a higher sugar content. So it's really kind of like a 3-part process, which is why it's not just a straight flavored rum, and it's 80 proof, which most
tastes so dang good.
You like the smoky. That was so the smoky, for people who haven't seen it out yet, it's gone, whatever you can find in stores, that's what's left of it, but it was a barrel swap we did with Teeling. So Teeling Irish whiskey. It's really fun, really different. I think it's more like barbecued pineapple, like fresh grilled pineapple, but
super tasty. Don't come after mine. Don't ask me where I live. You can't have it. My smoky formula pineapple Stiggins fancy rum. Okay, so we talked about what's popular in bars and stores. If there was a new tiki enthusiast who wanted to have, just a handful of rums that they could make a ton of tiki drinks with, which Plantation rum bottles should they get first?
I would say definitely the OFTD. It's like an overproof, kind of like in that navy style, extra strength. Oh, someone's already asking about cut and dry. I keep that thing on me. So the OFTD is definitely like a necessity as an overproof rum. And then we have the Jamaica, which is my personal favorite for just like classic aged weighted Jamaican rum. It's 100% pot still, but I wouldn't say it's not like that crazy heavy funk bomb. There's definitely funk there, and it's higher ester than most of the regular rums you can get from like.
That's what I'm making my Mai Tais with.
Yeah, and it's super affordable. Right? Like, you can now, I think, 7 years ago, it wasn't that easy to get a lot of pot still Jamaican that was aged. You could find a lot of unaged. Now the market's very different, and thankfully there's so much other Jamaican rum coming to us, including Moni Musk, which we import for NRJ. But that being said, like to have something like this that is affordable, under $30, and like have it just readily available is pretty special. To answer the cut and dry, it is not available in the US. This is only available in Barbados until further notice. I guarantee it's coming. I promise. I cannot tell you when, but soon. Sometime next year. I can't like be 100% sure, but I know it's coming next year. So with that said, it is a 80 proof coconut rum, all Barbados, and it's really, really stupid good. And I'm drinking some right now.
Guys, Plantation Rum does all kinds of small batches, and they're released locally in various parts of the world. Some of them were sad that we don't get to try, but it's always exciting to see what they come up with. And the best way to stay in touch with them probably is to follow them on Instagram. Then you can see all the cool stuff. It'll make you a little sad when,
Yeah. And I mean, My role for the team is strictly rum focused. And so if you follow me on Instagram or if you just have a rum question about us specifically, you can message me. And I travel. That's kind of my thing. I just go wherever the rum is. Sometimes it's events or education, or I'll be doing seminars. And certainly if you're on the islands, if you're going to Barbados or Jamaica, please reach out so I can make sure you get the VIP tour, because it's a real treat. It's very special.
Nice.
Our tour in Barbados has not historically been open to the public. So when people visit, it's a hard hat tour, but we show you everything. We show you all the stills, all the fermentation styles. You get to taste things direct from the barrel. It's pretty unique. So please.
So is Barbados like the home of plantation rum?
That's a good question. It's our second home. Our first home is cognac, because that's where the master blender started the company as a cognac producer first. And then when we got into rum, we were still doing these like bottlings. We were independent bottler and doing this double aging technique of ex bourbon barrel and then ex cognac barrel. And then in 2017, we were fortunate enough to acquire the West Indies Rum Distillery in Barbados. So then we became producers. And it was kind of a match made in heaven, because that distillery was one of our biggest suppliers of our Barbados rum that we were bottling, right? Like the Barbados 5, the XO, these were coming from West Indies Rum Distillery. So it just was kind of like a perfect match. And now we're creating if you come, please come visit. But we are doing so much out there, so many different rums, and playing around with fermentation, and like kind of everyone's a kid in a candy store. Our fermentation director, Dario, he's really did, and we're coming up with some crazy stuff. So please visit. Or if you see me out on the road, I usually have some of those lab samples in my person.
In your person? Here's just a selection of some of the more readily available ones here in the United States.
This piece of my loin. That's not what I meant, but it is,
How do you guys, so like you have your base in Barbados and everything you described, but you have rums coming from all around the world.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even manage that? Do you have one person?
Well, someone, yeah, those are Alexandre decisions for sure. When he finds an interesting rum that he wants to share with the rest of the world, it ends up in a bottle. But a lot of it is personal relationships. We have a really great relationship with the Fiji producer. And so their rum is extremely unique. It's really hard to find in the US. They do have a couple brands. And so they were looking for a full-time partner, and then we became their full-time partner. They used to, basically the islands of Fiji are so small, and they made more rum than they can bottle and consume. So they started selling a lot of rum in bulk, which would normally just end up at like a warehouse in Amsterdam, and then it would go to whoever. But they wanted like a proper partner to take on all of their bulk sales. And so they came up with a couple blends. The Isle of Fiji is a partnership blend with that distillery, and we get to show off Fiji rum to the world. I'm not saying it's like a permanent relationship, the exclusivity of having like access to their bulk rum, but the goal is that we show off rum from everywhere, because we want people to know that rum is not a monolith. It's not a homogenous culture or production. It's very different depending on where you're from. And so the only way to really do that is have rum from everywhere and try them all. So I tell people when they're on their rum journey, if you find that you like a rum from one country, then try other like styles from that same country. Try them all, because that is kind of the way that you learn about the category, as opposed to like, bourbon is bourbon. I throw bourbon a lot of shade, because I think like if you taste a rum in Jamaica because you were there on a vacation or a honeymoon, and you're like, oh my God, I'll never forget that. Like it's inextricably linked to that memory. You don't have that same experience with like, oh man, Jim Beam, I love Kentucky. Like I don't Louisville when I have bourbon, unfortunately. So I think there's something really special about rum that stands out between other spirit categories, and we're the brand.
I think it's tough because a lot of people, and I don't want to name any names, but they have a bad experience with rum at an early age from,
Mhm.
you know, if you're a rum drinker, you know what I'm talking about, the
Yeah.
not so pleasant rums. And they just chalk rum up to be that. And sometimes it takes many years for people to come back to rum and give it another chance. But when they do, it really is, I would say, the most diverse spirit in the world. Flavor profiles. You can have rums that look exactly the same, and you taste them, and they are not. They're totally different. So it's really
Mhm.
cool. I
It's
appreciate
made all over the world.
you
I
guys'
mean,
bottles and,
yeah.
and labels and everything for making it stand out and giving people a reason
Great.
to find their love for rum.
Yeah. That's the goal, is just, preach the gospel of rum, get people interested in trying new things. And, it's not just about the exposure. It's about like encouraging and like influencing your experience. We drink for pleasure, like at minimum, we're drinking so that we're having a pleasurable experience and hopefully creating a memory. And if we're not creating a memory, then a positive memory, right? If we're not doing that, then we're wasting our time and effort. And I think we do all of that very handily. We're making good memories.
100%. I do have a question
Yeah.
that always like this. It boggles my mind, particularly with rum, right? Because as the rum industry grows, a lot of rums are aged for years, right? So you kind of have to anticipate what's going to be happening in 10 years if you're going to be aging a rum 10 years. Does plantation rum, like, how do you guys manage that? Have you ever faced like shortages or done,
I mean, we don't have shortages. I think because Alexander Gabriel, our master blender and CEO, he's the team lead on this, and he has a cognac background. Cognac is a blended spirit, right? So he knows very intimately how to like marry different vintages and try to come up with something that's still very compelling and something really beautiful. I think the assumption that spirits gain from straight single cask aging is a lens of whiskey that sometimes can be delicious for rum and sometimes not. I think, especially in tropical climates, if you have something aging for more than 15 years in an extremely humid climate at 90 degrees daily, it's going to be heavily oaky in a way that even more so than bourbon. So you start to lose some of the beauty of that initial raw material. But I think that it's everyone has their place, and I don't think we're going to run out of rum. I think that the business changes because of molasses prices, sugar prices going up, molasses being more scarce, and people are playing with sugarcane juice distillate. I think we all just innovate. When anybody that works in production, especially in islands where resources are limited, you work with what you have. And if what you have dries up, if your sugar source is getting a little too pricey to get molasses, then maybe you make sugarcane juice distillate and try that. I'm not saying we take away from rum agricole, which is very much its own thing, but we have to pivot. We'll find a way to exist, because at the end of the day, like, the rum is not just a reflection of its production methods, it's also a reflection of the community and the people that make it. So in Barbados, dozens of employees making rum. We have a distillery that works 24 hours a day. We got to maintain. We have to find a way to make it work. It's a lot of responsibility. So I don't think we're facing anything like detrimental in the long term, but you never know. And if
I don't
things
know. We want people to love rum, but not an influx that's so overwhelming. I can't get plantation rum anymore, right? So we got to pace the growth a little bit.
They won't run out, but they're like, they'll just charge more, right? If we have an expression, and that's part of it too, right? We've never relied on only selling 15-year-old rums, only relying, because if it's just a waiting game and you're waiting for things to age, you will face some hard times. You will have to wait for things to age in a barrel. But I think that is a whiskey lens where we assume that older is better. And I always make this joke that this only exists in spirits because I get older every year and no one congratulates me. No one's like, I don't get the same kind of accolades as a pappy, like I want I want to also be as good today as I am next year and 10 years from now. So I hope the same for my spirits. No more
I've
extinction.
also found personally, like if it's aged a lot, I might sip it, but I actually don't prefer cocktails that have been aged a long time in cocktails.
It's a little more limiting, right? Like, and it's not just the price point. I mean, you have a couple of nice bottles at home, but I think that Peggy, you are not wrong. Ohio is a control state. It is tough on these streets, let me tell you. But we're doing better. We'll get you the good stuff, I promise. And right on the border to Kentucky. I think that it's a personal preference. There are people who don't like cocktails at all. They're never going to make drinks at home, and those are the people that will continue to look for much older rums. They'll want a sipping rum only, and they're not interested in getting into the cocktail world. That's fine. But yeah, for us tiki nerds making tropical drinks in our homes or enjoying them at bars, I mean, you need versatility. You need a light rum, a dark rum, a funky rum, a grassy rum, an overproof rum. Like, it's not all 15-year-old sipping neat.
Yep. 100%.
There's anything wrong with that, but there's room for both. And I think that a lot of brands kind of get tied up and really only scratching one itch. That's not a great, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, you guys hit all the bases, plethora of different rums. One last question before we talk to Captain David. In regards to Peggy's comment about plantation rum being hard to find in Ohio, is there anything we can do as consumers if our local liquor store doesn't carry plantation rum to get them to carry plantation rum?
Yeah, I think the bigger stores, maybe not Total Wine. We do have a national relationship with Total Wine, thankfully. And they do have one of our single casks. I'm pretty sure they have a Jamaican single cask. So with the exception of Total Wine, but whatever your, mid-size or larger retailers, even smaller retailers, just kind of planting the seed, telling retailers that you're looking for a specific thing, asking bars to order it, because the problem with control states specifically, like Ohio, Pennsylvania, Utah, that it's tough to bring things in because the government decides what is marketable and what is necessary, right? So it can be a little tricky, and you really only have one or two opportunities a year to petition your products to the board, right? So New Hampshire, same thing. We have an opportunity to show off a couple of new things. Maybe they take it, maybe not. And then even when it's listed in a control state, you can look on the website and only one store has everything in the biggest city in the state, and everyone else gets one thing. So in a control state, when we have multiple things that are listed, but your local store never picks them up, just keep bothering them about it. It's legally allowed to be sold there, so they should be able to pull it in. With that said, I mean, those control states are tough. We do really well. We try to get as close to the border of control states and really make sure that they're well taken care of, like Kentucky, I want to say Covington, Bellevue area, where what's the name of the store? The Party Source. It's the biggest privately owned retailer in the country. And they do great business. They have a ton of rum as well. So if you're close enough that it makes sense, or you're going to Cincinnati, it's just over the bridge. I see a question about which plantation rum is your favorite to mix in tiki cocktail. What is my favorite? Probably Jamaica. Jamaica, because it's just a great base. It complements fruity things really well because of the fruit that's naturally occurring in the esters, but it also works with most rums work with lime, but I think this one works with lime and lemon, which is very unique. I also find it good in just simple rum and tonic, which is also kind of a challenge in a lot of rums. I just find it to be a little more flexible. If not Jamaica, I would say Isle of Fiji. Yeah.
Also, it's too hard to choose. I would say the Plantation 3-star, but that's because I like Aku Akus, even though they're so obnoxious to make.
3 stars are great.
3
stars, a beautiful rum. We won, and I like to toot our own horn here because we have a local brand called Stades, which is from Barbados specifically, and we have an exclusive relationship with Total Wine and More. So if you see Stades, that is also us. It's just from Barbados. It is not a part of the Plantation rum line. but they States White won Best Spirit in Show at the International Wine and Spirits Challenge. And then 3 Star got second place. So we took the first 2 spots, which is, really cool that 3 Star came out so many years ago and it's still just a hit. It's always
a favorite.
So good.
You can tell because in the liquor store you can get the regular bottle and then you can get the big boy bottle.
The big dog. We don't have that for Jamaica, unfortunately, which I'm like pushing 175s. Let's get it. But it just is, it was supposed to be like a 100% pot still plumber style rum, which was the original Mai Tai was made with a plumber style rum. So I think there is some, something to be said for that. It works great. Oh yeah, there's Stades. Yeah, it's
So real quick before we let you go, I do want to mention Plantation Rum. You guys sponsor all the cocktails, you sponsor all the interviews, but you also sponsor the Enchanted Carving Contest, which basically for the people watching, carve a pumpkin, a jack-o'-lantern for the spooky season. Let's face it, you're probably going to be doing that anyways, and submit the design. And you could win some cool prizes, if you want to spoil us with Plantation Rum pumpkins, you can do that. But the prizes this year, there's 3, okay? So you could win a Trouble in Paradise cocktail mug from the Search for Tiki, the very last first edition that I have available. And that's for best overall design that we choose. The best Tiki design, you could win a copy of Polynesiac's Tiki at Home from Tiki Tom Tom. He was a guest on the show earlier this month. Go check out that video. But if your pumpkin is Tiki and it wins best design, you'll win a copy of his book. And then just by entering, you'll automatically be entered to win a Raiders of the Lost Ark Temple of the Golden Idol Lego set. Lego or Disney, but it's pretty cool, right? So, guys, the Enchanted Carving Contest, submit your designs now. And Adrienne, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you again for sponsoring all of our videos.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. I'll see y'all in the IRL. Oh, wait, that's redundant. In the real life.
In the real life.
Real life.
Cheers.
Cheers, y'all.
What's up, buddy?
Hey.
There he is, the legendary Captain David.
Oh, you flatter me. You flatter me. You old dog.
See you, buddy. You old dog. It's been a while since I got to see you.
It has. When I see you, April?
Yeah, so you competed in our Mai Tai Throwdown at Wusong Road Tiki Bar.
Yeah, that was fun. That was. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I didn't expect to see snow, but I probably should have expected to see snow, when I was there. I remember renting the car.
I didn't even remember that it was snowing. Was it snowing or there was just snow on the
There was just snow. The funny thing is look at that. Oh my God. Yeah. I always put my hand up. That was fun.
Through everybody that participated that night.
Yes. I will say I did end up going to a bar afterwards with some of the competitors and to a pizza place. I can't remember the names of either, and I got very drunk, and it was very fun. But it was cold. I think when I landed, I looked at the report, or before I landed, I was planning the trip, like, what should I pack? And it said possibility snow. When I landed at the airport, the girl's like, oh, you want to upgrade your vehicle in case it snows. You're not from here. And I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So she got me this all-wheel drive. Obviously, long story short, it didn't snow. It just rained a little bit. But regardless, coming from Arizona, it was February, and I just really wasn't, out here. February is such a nice time of year. I just was like, oh, shoot, snow everywhere. Anyway.
I will say, like, as a local here, it's not the snow you have to worry about. It's the people driving in the snow. Because if you go slow, you're fine. But the problem is people don't go slow, and then they careen into you. So in that case, the four-wheel drive is not going to help you out one way or the other. If
No,
Joe
you're right.
Schmo, you know, comes.
Luckily, I purchased the extra insurance. So
There you go.
anyway.
Well, dude, it's great to have you on.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you for reaching out and doing this. I was really excited too. Actually, I was really kind of shocked that at first I was like, why do you want to interview me? I'm just such a dorky tiki guy.
Captain David, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but you know, I'm in such my own bubble here by myself all the time. It's like, I don't really know what people, you know, if people know about my what I do, or even really get what I do. And, you know, so when I hear, you know, compliments like that, I get really shy and embarrassed because I'm just like, I just kind of feel like I'm here in this bubble pumping out these rum drinks all the time and like really being passionate about it. And like, you know, it's just me. I do my own prep. I do menu ordering, everything. So sometimes I just kind of like, I don't get out enough and really realize that like, are people really getting what I'm doing? Or I'm just like going through the motions of just making money. You know what I mean? It's weird.
I get a chance to talk to a lot of tiki people, and I can say I have never heard anything negative. Everybody has nothing but nice things to say about you, dude. So,
oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it, man. I would hope if they had an issue, they would at least tell me first.
Tell you first
before they
Yeah,
blasted me on
that's
social
true.
media or something. You know?
I want to go talk to that Search for Tiki guy.
Yeah.
What was your?
We'll talk
okay,
later.
so
I'm just kidding.
backing it up a little bit. What was your introduction to tiki?
You know, so as a kid, I think most of us as children, we really like going to like themed out restaurants. So I remember going to like themed restaurants, you know, whether it's just like the Wild West, a seafood place, any kind of anything weird. So I think as a kid, that kind of came into being an adult. I really like, as cheesy as it sounds, like even when I, you know, turned 21 going to Vegas, like I was always more drawn to the casinos that like had this cheesy theme, like this escapism. So I grew up in Los Angeles, and then when I was 16 years old, we had moved to Phoenix area. And so in about 2006, 2007, me and some friends decided to move to LA. So I moved back as an adult, and I remember living in Los Angeles and going to the Tiki for the first time. And I just remember sitting there drinking. So, I mean, we all love the raisin steak, but my drink there the longest time was their skull and bones, randomly as it is. That was my drink. And I just remember sitting there like the first or second time I'd been there, just like looking around, soaking it in. And I was just like, man, I love this. I just like, everyone is so nice. These drinks are so strong. They got a lot, they're just like really fun names. And you know, I'm sure you've been to the Tiki Tea. Have you been to the Tiki Tea?
100%, dude. It's one of the greatest tiki bars in not just the country, the world.
My favorite tiki bar of all time. And I have to credit Tiki Tea as the bar that really set me on my TV journey. But you know, you know, some of those drinks, you know, you order, they get the correct, you know, the patrons involved. And it's just like this camaraderie of like, hell yeah, you know, we're all just hanging out, a bunch of rum nerds, just having a good old time. And this was like, I think I said 2006, 2007, it just clicked. And that started my path of like, okay, now I'm going to seek out mugs. I'm going to seek out tiki bars. I'm going to start going to tiki events. And my first tiki mug I ever bought, funny enough as it is, was at Frankie's Tiki Room in Las Vegas. And I bought the Tiki Bandit mug. And I actually, for my birthday this year, not only did I get rum tattooed on my knuckles, I got my first tiki mug tattoo on my leg. I got the Tiki Bandit. Yes, there you go. Oh, it's so weird seeing that because you can see my legs shaved. You can see some long strands of hair on the top. But yes, that was my first actual tiki. The first mug I ever bought. And my good friend JD did it for me. He's such a rad dude. And like, I just finally was like, I'm just going to get this mug. That was the first mug I bought before I almost went bankrupt by buying mugs. I'm sure we all can relate to that.
Yes.
But that's really, yeah, I have tubs and tubs. in a storage unit that I can't even put on display. It's embarrassing. But that was the first mug I ever purchased. But Tiki Tea was the bar that really, it just clicked. And so from there, going to events, seeking out tiki bars, joining tiki groups online. I finally got this opportunity, to work at Hula's before I took this bar over. And I was very apprehensive to do this because I'm sure we've all can relate or have this fear of like, if you kind of work in a hobby that you really enjoy, what if you end up hating it? And I was like, what if I start working and doing tiki drinks and I end up hating it and it ruins this hobby, this love, this passion for me? So I really did have to think about that for a good couple days. And then, at the end of the day, I was just like, screw it. I'm just going to do it. And honestly, it's been the exact opposite. It's only flourished my love of tiki and like my knowledge of like rum and cocktails and like matching flavors. And like, it's just only grown from that. And I'm so thankful that I did do that because, it's just been such a wild journey for the last 5 years having this bar. It's been amazing. I feel very lucky to have the customers I do and people spending like, their hard-earned money in here week after week and on this little bar that I, really kind of put in. I feel like I'm sure people really know, but I put in a lot of hours in this bar and it's nice to like see people appreciate that. So, it's been very humbling and exciting too. So, this is a very long out answer.
That's okay.
To your question.
Here's a question before we get into Captain's Cabin. I want to dig deep into it, but one of the things that baffles me, I'm from Boston. Okay, we have super intense nautical culture here, Revolutionary War, everything, Boston Tea Party, and yet two of the best nautically themed cocktail bars in the country are in Arizona, and Arizona does not have ocean. Is there?
Wait,
why do you think?
Are you talking about me and Undertow?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, man. I didn't think. Yeah. I mean, Undertow. Yeah, Undertow's amazing.
100%, dude. You and Undertow, nautically themed cocktail bars. I mean,
I would respectfully decline mine on that list, but I mean, I definitely say I'd be a contender and maybe top 20. But there's a lot of bars I haven't been to yet. Like my favorites. If I had a list, anyway. Thank you, but like, anyway, let's keep going. I don't need to go on a tangent. Let's not do this.
Really is there nautical culture in Arizona?
No, there isn't. Definitely not. But like, I have to say, when I was in Boston, I do really like New England tiki. Is so different. Like I was saying earlier, it's so different. I really like. It was very eye-opening to see like these a lot of these Chinese restaurants with tiki drinks, like the history for like 50 plus years, man. Like that's really, really cool. And, I didn't grow up in Phoenix. I moved here in 95. And I think a lot of people who live in Phoenix can agree with this, but Phoenix has a bad habit of destroying, as most cities, its history, historic buildings, anything that's like been around for a long time. It's like, oh, let's just knock it down and build some apartments. And I think just recently Arizona or Phoenix in particular has been trying to save the stuff. LA, same thing. They've kind of saved a lot of stuff, but they're struggling with it. I'm sure Boston, New England area is struggling with the same thing, But I think it was really nice being in a city, especially on the East Coast. Boston is such an old city. I mean, Phoenix is such a Arizona didn't become a state till 1912. So it was really cool being in a city that was like, had a lot of history and seeing these like, these restaurants with this tiki culture. Like I was fortunate enough, I drove all the way to Kowloon by myself for lunch. I kind of wish I went with some people because I heard that the lunch menu is not what you should order. You got to order the big platters and share, but
poo-poo platters. I will own it. I go to Kowloon by myself. I'm ordering the poo-poo platter.
I like that place.
They got boxes to go.
I will say I had one of the worst tiki drinks I've had in a long time, but I did not expect mixology masterpiece. It's the history, and I'm sure there's something there, and it probably depends on who's bartending, but that building is so beautiful, and you can just smell the history, because you know that smell, old wood smell, old carpet smell. It just smells. It really bums me out to know that you guys are going to be losing that someday.
It's still there. There's no final closure date. Yes,
I'm going to say this. What if this is all a marketing ploy?
That's what. So this came up in
I hope
one of
it
the
is.
videos. Brother Cleve.
I hope it is.
I love. Rest in peace, Brother Cleve. Actually, I'll drink to Brother Cleve. But I was talking to him at one of the New England Tiki Society events, and his theory was that it was all a marketing ploy, because they've never been busier, at least in my lifetime, than once they announced that they were closing.
That building is huge, man. Could you imagine? We'll just go on this tangent for a second. Could you imagine if, like, okay, we're going to take it serious. We're going to hire a beverage director. We're going to bring in a chef, and we're going to bring in, just redo our cocktail menu. The size of that restaurant and that place will have a line out the door, even with its capacity.
It's kind of the polar opposite of the captain's cabin. Yeah. You guys fit what?
But I mean, that place is just,
people?
Yeah, on a good day. But I mean, anyway, that place is amazing. But anyway, the point of this is like, it was really nice to see how Tiki has inspired another region of the United States, because, I grew up in California and now I live here, and all I've ever really known is West Coast Tiki. And I've been to Three Dots in Chicago, had a blast. I never made it to Lost Lake before they closed. I've actually been to a pretty great tiki bar in Omaha, Nebraska. If you've heard of it, La Colono, great. But I really haven't explored a whole lot on the East Coast. Not even in Florida. We were talking about Florida. I haven't really been to anything in Florida either. The Mai Kai, I'm just waiting for that.
To reopen.
Yeah. So
we had Typhoon Tommy on the show earlier this month. If people want updates on the Mai Kai,
I saw that.
And Don the Beachcomber's coming back to Florida. So
I know. Yeah. I finally met Marie at Tales of the Cocktail in New Orleans this summer, and she's such an awesome person. But I do remember telling her, I was just like, man, you have like such a huge task to do. Like,
no pressure.
She's the perfect person to do it. But I mean, you think about this, like, Don the Beachcomber is why we have what we have, and carrying on his legacy, man, that's a huge honor and a huge task. But, they got a great team to do it. So I can't wait to see the execution and get out there. I probably will fly out there. If I can make it out the first week it's open, that'd be great. But I'm pretty sure a lot of us are going to try to get out there the first couple weeks.
If you end up doing that, hit me.
Yeah, man.
I'll meet you at the airport.
We should. I definitely think we should do it. I think it's going to be fun. I can't wait. So, I mean, that's a huge task. I'm just like, wow. That gives me anxiety thinking about it.
Well, going back to the captain's cabin, Hula's Modern. It had a captain when you started working there. I think you were working at Hula's Modern Tiki.
Yes.
And then it wasn't that long before you kind of took over as captain. Have you made changes? Because I never experienced the original iteration.
So it more or less aesthetically, the back bar has changed. I've got some more shelves in. I've definitely gotten a lot more rums. The back bar looks different. Obviously, the cocktail menu. There's a few little bits and pieces I've put up on the walls. I have to say that it definitely has drastically changed. And, with each menu that I've put out, I'm on my third menu now. Yeah, that's a pretty good picture. Very bright. But yeah, more or less. Oh, there you go. It's definitely a lot different than it was when it first opened. And I took it over. See, I started with Hula's in September of 2018. And I feel like it was March of the following year, 2019. Oh, look at that. Look at that cheesy smile. There's some good photos. Where did you guys get these?
I took them. I took them when I was there during
Oh,
Arizona.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some of these nights blend together. Nice. Awesome. You're going to have to send me some of these, man. I want to repost them on my Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll obviously give you credit.
Does the captain's cabin have a backstory, like a fictitious backstory?
Yes. So when it was being conceived, they modeled it as a 1940s Tahitian sailing bar, something that people sailing the seas would meet in Tahiti and just hang out, share stories, drink some rum, relax, maybe recruit some crew. So that is, to my understanding, of what they conceived as it. And I try to pay tribute to that now. You know, I try to play in here. You know, a lot of people ask why I don't play, you know, the traditional like Tiki Exotica music or anything like that. But I feel like in the 40s that, you know, that was all in the 50s. So I play a lot of like 40s jazz in here. So I try to keep it. What would you hear on an old like transistor radio in the 40s playing if they had a radio in this like bar? So I try to keep up with the theme as best I can. You know, it's been a few times where I put a little different music on, change some things up here and there for events, but you know, I try to honor what our owner and our partners did when they conceived this bar and put it together.
It's been a few years now, so my guess is it kind of maybe rolls along on its own. But initially, advertising for a speakeasy bars, they're kind of hidden intentionally a little bit. They're not.
Yeah.
It's not like you put a Vegas sign out front that says Captain's Cabin. You know,
No.
how do you advertise a speakeasy?
You know, I personally always think the best way to advertise is word of mouth. Always. I think that like reading about a bar or a restaurant is great. You know, Yelp is cool, Google's great. But I think that if you are friends with somebody or know somebody and they tell you about their experience and have a really good time about a bar, I kind of think that speaks more volumes and means a little bit more than what someone, had a great time, 5 stars, awesome drinks.
Yep.
And I'm very thankful for that because I do use a lot of sites when I'm traveling. But for me, as someone who's run this bar for about 5 years, nearly 5 years now, I think for me, as far as marketing and advertising, it's just been like, I think I'm very thankful and I've relied on the word of my customers putting it out there. You know, like I run all the social media for the bar. I don't post every day. I just post when it's here. I don't want to clog anybody's feed with a bunch of photos and stuff here and there. I just kind of like when I have something to say or something I want to share, I'll do it. But I really think that like word of mouth for me personally in this bar has really worked. And also doing tiki events, you know, as I know you know and see because you follow me on Instagram and social media and a lot of my regulars, I like to do a lot of like pop-up tiki events with some of my fellow tiki friends here around Phoenix. And I've also had the fortunate opportunity to actually bartend out of state too a few times in California. You know, I got to go to Forbidden Island in Oakland on Mai Tai Day last year,
There you go.
the birthplace of the Mai Tai. That was a very huge honor. You know, I was really, really, really flattered and honored that Forbidden Island let me come and do that.
I put $1 on the ceiling?
I didn't. And you know what? I always, the funny thing too is when I do guest spots, I always leave my captain's hat on the back bar. I always ask, but I didn't leave one there. I kind of like wasn't thinking. It was my first time traveling out of state to guest bartend. I was super excited. Just didn't leave it. But the invitation has been extended for me to come back and do it again. I just got to pick a date and a time. But
that'd be
I'm
awesome.
definitely going to do it this time. Yeah. So I was really thankful for them. They were the first bar to let me travel out of state. And then, of course, we have Hula's. We have some Hula's in California and Monterey and Santa Cruz. Those are our sister restaurants. They're much more kitschy tiki, where we are more modern tiki. I got to guest bartend at the Santa Cruz location last November, which was great. And then in March, I did the Lost Inferno in San Clemente, which was a Goonies themed tiki bar, which is a really, really cool space. And once again,
I just happened to be in California when that opened up, and I remember going, and it was just like a who's who of tiki. I got to see a lot of old friends there, just coincidentally.
Yeah, it's a really fun space.
I think it was built by Bamboo Ben.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bamboo Ben. But yeah, that bar is cool. If you guys haven't checked out the Lost Inferno yet, check it out. Goonies pirate themed bar. Jeremy Harder was in the comments talking about Superstition Village. Are you coming to Superstition Village?
I am actually. It's a big marketplace that Jeremy put on last year. I unfortunately was out of town, so I wasn't able to make it. But this year, I've been asked again to help bartend with my good buddy Tiki Dan, a couple of our friends. We're gonna be running the bar in shifts, so we don't get it burnt out. Hopefully, we can get those drinks out quickly. But I didn't go last year, so I have no idea what to expect. I'm very, very excited to check it out. We'll see I think that this is I think that Arizona needs some more events like this. We have Tiki Oasis, which is great, that comes once a year. I think that people here in Arizona are very hungry for rum, cocktails, and tiki culture. And I think this is great. And I can't wait to see this grow and evolve into some, not only a marketplace, but I could see this being maybe a tiki event like Oasis, maybe. I don't want to put any pressure. I don't want to put any pressure on Jeremy, but
I will put all the pressure on Jeremy.
Yeah. Okay.
All of it.
So, I think there's definitely a demand for it. I think it's possible. I think that we have great weather in the winter, so why not? Let's do some stuff.
Do you think the tiki culture in Arizona is alive and well and vibrant?
I think it's getting there. I think it's very small, but people love it. People are ready. They want it. It's growing. I think with all the last few, I've noticed the Tiki Oasis events. We'll just go back to them because they're the biggest one that everyone comes out to. I feel like every year, I think that event gets better and better, and I'm meeting more and more cool people, and I'm seeing a lot more people that I'm seeing a lot more of my regulars come out to these events, and I think it's I think we're small in terms of Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco area, and Boston. You guys have some great. I mean, you guys. I was very surprised to see how many people turned out for that Wusong Mai Tai contest.
Yes.
Man, that place is packed.
It's funny because a lot of the restaurants here are closing because they're Chinese restaurants, and I think primarily because the spaces are just too big. But there's so much opportunity for small craft cocktail bars in the Boston area because people love it. But with that said, dude, you do these events, maybe a little PSA, public service announcement on batching cocktails, okay? Because I've had some pretty rough batched cocktails in the past few years. Do you have any tips for people on how to batch a cocktail?
This is okay. So this is how Hulas, we do batch cocktails, get the good drinks out quicker. I know a lot of people frown down upon it, but I feel like a lot of people who really are vocal about it probably have never worked in the industry and don't know. But I'm going to say the purpose of batch cocktails is strictly to get them out quicker. If you're batching a zombie, we all know zombie, 8, 9 different touches. Instead, you're grabbing maybe a bottle or 2 bottles, depending on how you batch it. Here at the cabin, I batch my base spirits together. Once I add, sugar and citrus, that stuff has a shelf life. But if I mix, for example, my 3 dots and a dash, I have 5 different spirits in it.
Oh, wow.
Instead of grabbing 5 bottles, I'm grabbing 1 bottle, using a jigger, just, using the amount I need, and then 2 more touches, and then bitters, and then I'm good. the purpose of that is always to get out. But what I think, there's a lot of people that will batch and add dilution to it and pour it over ice. I personally prefer to always shake. So just pour the whole batch, how much it is, 5-6 ounces, shake it in ice, because I think that aeration and you chill the drink quicker and you get the good dilution. I personally think that's the way you do it. But if people are having batch cocktails and they're coming out bad, I've had some bad ones. I mean, look at, sometimes they just pour it over ice and just hand it to you. I mean, to me, nothing makes me cringe more than that. I'm like, you have this cocktail that is, all the work is done for you. Shake it. Just shake it.
It doesn't take that much time.
Yes.
Right? 5-6 seconds. Do a little shake.
That's me. That's my opinion. I have this discussion with a lot of people. Some people agree with me. A lot of people don't. I think a lot of people that don't most of them have never worked in the industry, like in the bartending. Well, or they've bartended like decades ago. And bartending, as we know, especially in the last 10 years, has evolved into this crazy, almost like to the same level as the whole level of mixology stuff is like the same level as like chefs almost to some people. The things that some of these cocktail bars are doing, incorporating science and flavors and like blending of these items and ingredients that you never would think to see in like cheese. People are shaking cocktails with cheese, which is crazy, but it works.
Please, no.
Did you ever think,
no.
Anyway,
I had don't knock it till you try it, but
I had a martini shaken with some soft cheese, and I thought it was very interesting. I was like, wow.
That's what I want to drink, as a cocktail you describe as interesting.
Well, it just depends on what you're going for, Like, I try to be an equal opportunity cocktail enthusiast. Like, I like it all, I like to go to bars, even tiki bars, when people are doing drinks that I don't do, things that I can't do. For example, one of my favorite tiki bars is False Idol in San Diego. And they do, in my opinion, a really, really good pearl diver. Now, I've had some friends get them. They said they didn't enjoy them as much. They like it better at other places. Totally cool. That's the greatest thing about cocktails and our palates. We're all so different. We interpret things differently. But for me, I always get a pearl diver there because I don't make them here, because for the life of me, I cannot get my gardenia mix to stay not clumpy. And I've tried, and I just have given up. And I've read, there's all these like crazy processes now of like, oh man, I got in a deep dive a couple weeks ago trying to figure it out, and it was just got to be so overwhelming. Like, oh my god, I don't think I want to do this. I'm just going to leave it to the professionals. I'm going to leave it to the professionals. That's But anyway, for example, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I always I struggle with the Mai Tai. So if I'm making Mai Tais at home with orgeat, right? Because if you don't drink it right away, the orgeat separates. So like if I have people over with cocktails and I give them a Mai Tai, I'll be watching them. I'll be like, come on, drink it. Because it's going to look weird if you don't drink it.
Now let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you a question. When you make Mai Tais for people, do you split the base between a couple different rums, or you just use one rum just to keep it easy? Is it dependent on who comes over? Like, if they're super into tiki, are you going to impress them and do a nice blend, or are you just like, no, this is what works for me. I really like it. Like, simple, and you just do it for everyone.
Simple, man.
Yeah.
Simple. I'll do one rum and a Mai Tai. Don't get me wrong. Like a zombie will usually have 3 rums, but Mai Tai, I keep it simple. But going back to what you said, this idea of batching cocktails as being a bad thing. The reality is most cocktail bars are batching cocktails. It's just in like 2 or 3 bottles. So you're not really necessarily aware of it, but you're not going to have a bartender sit there and do 10 ingredients. It's completely impractical, and the bar would go belly up. So yeah, sorry guys, but your cocktails are batched whether you know it or not.
Yeah. I mean, but you just got to do it right. And I will say that there are some bars that do it wrong. And those are probably the majority of the bars that people have expressed frustration with batch cocktails. I got in an argument with someone online at Tiki Oasis over, I don't care. I'll say someone went on the Tiki Oasis Arizona group and said some not nice things about one of my drinks I did for an event. And I chimed in and I was like, hey man, just so you know, this is why X, Y, and Z. And I just explained why I batched it and why I used the ingredients I did, because he was complaining about like, why was it this, and not this? And I was like, hey, listen, man, these are the sponsors. The sponsors of the event. They wanted me to use their product. This is how it works. It's very easy to come in here and like nitpick, but take a look around, look at the banners, and like this brand sponsored it. And of course we're going to use those products. Yeah. Anyway, the guy ended up just like got bombarded and he just deleted his comment. But I try not to do that, but like, the guy was not very nice. But anyway, batch cocktails, I think it's totally great if you do it properly, but
yeah,
depends.
Jason's saying ignore the internet trolls. There are always internet trolls, but sometimes it's hard not to take it personally. When someone
I ignore a lot of stuff.
You gotta ignore it.
Yeah, I've been fortunate if I haven't seen too much negative stuff about me, but I'm also not in every Tiki group, so there's probably some out there. It's okay.
Oh, you haven't seen the entire Facebook group dedicated to the woes of Captain David?
No, I hope that never comes into existence.
It does not. It does not.
That would, good. Let's hope that no one does.
I haven't even thought it into the ether. I shouldn't have.
Yeah, don't do that. You shouldn't even have spoken about it.
Yep. So,
what else
do you think like Tiki enthusiasts in particular are harder critics than your average?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Do you think it's just because they're maybe a little more knowledgeable than the average cocktail person, or?
Let's see. That is a good question, and now I'm gonna have to think on this because, we should say too. Like Anyway, I think that I feel weird because I am very critical of it too, because I've had a lot of drinks and, it takes a lot for sometimes to impress me. But on this note, I will tell you about a drink I just recently had that really impressed me and I was so shocked. But
okay.
I think that like some real, I'm not talking about enthusiasts when they just got into it like in the last like 3 years and like they're just writing like whatever they see online, they want to repeat and write hard for. I'm talking about people who really know what they're talking about. Yeah, I think people are passionate about like how things used to be in terms of like how these cocktails were made. And I think that like, people want to protect these classic cocktails to the point where they're not going to be reinvented too many times that we kind of lose sight of what they used to be. For example, the Mai Tai. I don't know why this drink, it was created like 10 years after Tiki. Was it 1944? Is the Mai Tai, and then 34 is when Don Beach started his bar. I think that's roughly the era. So we'll just say 34, like 10 years. I don't understand why that drink is so protected and people get so upset. For example, if there's pineapple juice in it, people lose it. But you have these zombies and other classic drinks that are older being riffed and no one says anything. To me, that is such an interesting drink that is so coveted. And I always ask people why this is, and no one really has an answer, and I don't know. And like, the Mai Tai is extremely popular. And maybe, I wasn't around in 44, I wasn't around in the 50s either, or the 60s. So I couldn't tell you this, like, how, like, maybe the Mai Tai in the 40s and the 50s is what, like, everyone's gateway cocktail into Tiki. Maybe that's why it's so popular. Because, I hope I'm answering your question right. Anyway, I feel like I'm going
it's a tricky question. It's kind of a
it is interesting. Question. Yeah, I think they want to protect something and they don't want it to be bastardized by some of these big rum brands that have a lot of money that aren't as great. And I think they're worried about it getting lost. And I see that and I understand that. But I think that we don't have anything to worry about. But I do appreciate people riding hard for how things used to be, but I think it's okay to evolve. I think it's okay to have variations, different riffs. I think it's okay if you you have the core foundation, you just kind of drift off a little bit. I think there's enough room for fun. If you don't like pineapple juice in your Mai Tai, that's okay. But honestly, if someone else does and their palate likes that, don't shame them for it. Don't make them feel stupid. And especially, I will go into this topic too. I see this a lot in tiki groups, and this really bums me out. Is you get a new member that posts a photo of a really bad rum, and they're like, "Hey, I just picked this up at the liquor store. What can I make for this?" And we've all been in here. It's not a good rum. And instead of being like, "Oh, hey, that rum isn't the best, but these are okay. But if you're looking for a good rum, try X, Y, and Z." But instead, they just get attacked. That's stupid. That's gross. The best drink for that is down the sink. La la la. And to me, I feel like we were all noobs at one point, and that just really bums me out to see the tiki community kind of attack some people. But then again, I think that also goes with the new tiki enthusiasts versus the seasoned ones that have been in it and their approach. So I think
personally, I think tiki enthusiasts might be a little more difficult because tiki has disappeared. There are some cocktail cultures that they kind of become popular and less popular, but tiki has been almost obliterated from society a couple of times. So I think because people are cognizant of the world without tiki, they might be a little more protective of it.
That's a good point.
That's just my theory.
No, that is a very good point. Without Beach Bum Berry, we would have lost what? I was reading something like he saved at least 50, 80 cocktails from being.
I don't know how many, but it's a lot.
A lot.
There's so many cocktails.
In the 90s too. He was doing this in the 90s before tiki had even had this huge resurgence of popularity. He was just going to LA, interviewing these old bartenders who had cocktail napkins and recipes scribbled on these cocktail napkins. He saved a lot of what we all cherish now, and I think that's a testament to him too.
Cheers to Beach Bum Berry.
Yeah,
the man, the legend.
If you're ever in New Orleans, go check out his bar. It's great.
Latitude 29, one of the best in the country. I also just think that maybe cocktail people in general are becoming more difficult just because the home bartending scene has kind of exploded, and people dabble a little bit and then they become experts. But people just gotta be nice. Be nice to your bartender. Tip well.
And sometimes these bartenders just making drinks that a bar manager, a beverage director, or even an owner came up with. So just ask why it is. Be open to it. It could be really good. For example, I know someone mentioned the Valley High Mai Tai on here. I saw, which is probably the worst Mai Tai I've ever had, but only because it's all booze. There's nothing really there to balance it. But do I get one every time I'm at the Valley High? You bet your ass I do. Every time. I have to have one. But in terms of as a Mai, well, no, there's probably worse Mai Tais. I'll be honest, actually. I can think of 2 other places. But is it the best? No, but we all go there and get it. It's their signature. They ride hard for it. They double down. They say, "This is ours," and I appreciate that. They just no apologies. This is us. This is our Mai Tai, and I think that's so awesome. And we all in groups will talk, make comments about it, how bad it is or this, and some people loathe it, but 80% to 90% of us still get it every time we're there. I'm one of those.
Yep.
I enjoy it. It's usually there we go. See, Jason's right. Yeah. Every time. That's me. But
all right. So where do you start when you're designing a cocktail?
Okay, so now it's kind of weird. I'm on my third menu. So now if there's so what I'll usually do, and I have a couple of Beach Bum Berries cocktail books. I have a couple I have Smuggler Cove's book. I have Shannon Mustafer's book. I have a bunch of books. So I will peruse them, use post-it notes of things that I think like the combinations. I'm not ripping anybody off per se, but sometimes I need a little like motivation to know flavors. For example, one of my favorite shows to watch, and this is so embarrassing to tell you guys that I've come up with a few
I'm
cocktails,
here for it.
but I love the Great British Baking Show.
Yes.
And I will tell you that they mix a lot of flavor: cardamom, passion fruit, almond. They do a lot of these flavors that are in a lot of tiki drinks or could be tiki drinks. So sometimes I'll be sitting there watching, I'm like, I never thought that those two fruits and that would go together. So then I'm like, I have like a notepad on my phone and I just add little notes every time. So that is one way I will do it. Back to the cocktail book, Beach Bum Berries. I'll look at classic cocktails that I've never featured before. So like I try to like, throw a few on there, less common ones that I don't see on menus. So I try to like keep things fresh. And then I'll also look at my back bar sometimes. And if there's a rum that I really like that doesn't move very well or doesn't get featured, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to pull this rum, sip on it by myself, just kind of like meditate on it, just kind of do something else, and just kind of see what it inspires me. And then I'll try and like build a cocktail around this rum, or maybe I'll do a blend of 2 rums or even 3 rums. My Mai Tai currently has 3 different rums in it. That was inspired by a podcast I watched called Cocktail College. If you've ever listened to this one, great podcast. But the Mai Tai episode, they interviewed the guy that used to run the Polynesian in New York City, which is did not survive COVID. But his Mai Tai that I guess he's like been known about at the Polynesian had 4 rums, half ounce. And I was like, I don't know why, but I never thought, I'm like, oh my God, that's kind of a brilliant idea. So I've split the Jamaican and my Mai Tai between 2 Jamaican rums and then 1 agricole. But anyway, back to it. I will just like, I try to keep a really good stocked back bar. I try to have every country represented here that I can think of, that I can get within reason if it's really good. I mean, there's a few rums out there that I'm not a fan of. And if people aren't asking for it, I just won't keep it stocked because it's just going to sit there. But I will try to rotate through my stock sometimes. So sometimes it's just like on a whim. I'm like, I'm going to pull this bottle. I'm going to sip on it. What can I do with this? What do I think is good? Sipping on this rum by itself, what am I thinking? Do I want something stirred and boozy? Do I want something shaken with ice? Do I want something, with a big cube? Do I want something served up? So that's kind of like where I'm at as a bartender when I'm doing my own cocktail menu in the cabin. When I'm doing menu stuff, for even if it's just special cocktails or even just a whole revamp. So I kind of have a few angles I kind of approach it at, and that's what's worked for me. Everyone has their own, I guess, way.
Okay, so I just want to check. We're on overtime. I have more questions to ask it, but is it?
Yeah, dude,
okay
I'm
we
cool.
Keep going? Are we just roll with it?
I mean, like I said, I plotted 2 to 3 hours. I wasn't sure how long.
Okay. You mentioned, starting with the rums, the spirits, and kind of working out from there. Do you have any tips for someone who's just getting into rum on how to taste rum?
That's very interesting because I feel like I'm probably, Ooh, that is a good question, man. Thank you. I mean, first and foremost, if someone was like, I have this rum, what can I make with it? I was like, dude, what do you like to drink? Just make it. Like, who cares what anybody else says on any Facebook group, Instagram, whatever, social media, or even friends, or even at a tiki bar? First and foremost, start with just what do you like? Just make it, man. If it's just coconut rum and pineapple juice with a little lime, who cares? Start small. But I think that I'm such a bad at describing flavors because I think my palate sometimes isn't the best, and there would be lots of times where I'm sipping and doing tastings with like distributors, brand ambassadors, or even customers, and they're like telling me these like tasting notes. Oh, I sent raisin, this and that, and sometimes they say something. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, you're so right. I've never thought that. So I kind of feel like, for me, I just say, what speaks to you detect, because my palate is going to be different than everyone else's. And yes, you can be described what notes are, and maybe you detect these things, and you probably do detect majority of them, but like, I just have gone to so many tastings, and like half the time, I don't know why I can't detect all of it completely. And sometimes I feel like I'm a failure or there's something wrong with me, but then I just kind of like, realize that like, hey, we're all different, like spirits and rum speak to us all differently. Like, just go with your gut, just do what feels right. And 9 times out of 10, it's usually pretty good.
Yep.
That's my outlook on it.
I've always
try to like not
enjoyed
take it too
spirits, but it wasn't until the Mai Tai Throwdown at Wusong Road where we're doing a competition, and they asked me to judge it, and so I was judging. I was like, sure, I'll judge the competition. And then you get that little piece of paper in front of you, where it's talking about like the looks and the finish, and it's like, wow, I've never actually thought this hard about. I'm like, I enjoy it. I can tell you, hey, I like this. But it's another step to be able to kind of dissect rum.
Yeah,
it doesn't necessarily come naturally to everyone, but I do think it's something
science to it. Yeah, there's some of these competitions that I've been in. Some of them are just like black and white. Do I like this one better than this one? Yes or no? That's it. And then some are like finish, body. After what do you get in the back end? What do you get in the front end? Presentation, glassware, ice. I mean, there's a lot of competitions that like really judge on this. For example, I just, I put it off many years, but I finally submitted a cocktail for World Class. I'm sure you know what World Class is. I'm sure you've seen it, like the biggest cocktail competition in the world. They do it in every country, and then you just go and compete. And it's like a college course, man. Like there's a lot of videos and classes they want you to take, and really like, write essays of, that's kind of like they give you this big midterm assignment, and you submit, you pour your heart into it. So I did that this year, and some of the things that like we're being judged on, they show you exactly, and you're just like, wow, man, like this is so intense. And some of these things I never thought about, but they do make sense. Like cocktail competitions are still new to me. I've only been doing them for like a year and a half. Like I just never really wanted to do it because, you get scared putting yourself out there on this like on this like front and center, and you're just being exposed on your talent. And some of these things are like 6 minutes, use these 2 ingredients, go. And those are fun and scary, so scary too at the same time. But like I've learned, a lot of my friends, I have a lot of good friends who like coached me and really given me advice. Like at the end of the day, like you just can't take those things to heart because those are high pressure situations. And sometimes you just like, you're having a good day and sometimes you're not. But I just, like what you're saying, these cocktail competitions, man, like some of them are intense, man. So I did see some of the judging of the Mai Tai competition. I was like, oh man, this is way more intense than I thought it was going to be. And then it's a funny thing too, is in that competition, I'm sure you remember, I had a good buddy of mine has an amazing pistachio orgeat recipe. And I brought it to, the staff at Wusong were so nice to make it for me when I gave him his recipe, but they gave me the wrong orgeat. Do you remember that? My first 6 or 7 cocktails was that guy Anton's orgeat. And I made one and passed it, and I was like, oh man, this is not good. This is not good. So I already knew that that kind of like tainted my chances, but I still had fun. It was something funny to laugh about. I didn't take it to heart, because at the end of the day, I met a lot of super cool people and had fun.
Yeah,
it was
for
fun.
The love of that competition is definitely more fun than the high I would say.
I was bummed. I was bummed that happened, and I will be honest with you, I did think I would at least place third place. So I was so bummed when that happened, and I didn't. I was like, damn it. But I mean, it was still such a good time. I had so much fun, and
I was
big
I was kind of surprised. So two of the things on the if you're judging, and I'll ask your opinion on this. There were two things to rate it on: was authenticity and creativity, and they were separate categories. And I was kind of like, okay, if I give something a 10 for authenticity, it's probably going to get a 0 for creativity. And I had a hard time balancing that. So I guess, like, what would you look for if you were judging a Mai Tai competition?
That's tough. So here's the thing. I think creativity should be out there. I think authenticity is a little tricky because I feel like there are parameters that you have to like kind of stay in for it to be a Mai Tai.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you have this level of creativity, but you got to like make sure it's like, I mean, what's a Mai Tai? Like it should have orgeat. You don't put orgeat in it. Like you can probably make a case for it, but that's tough to make one without orgeat. And there were some on that came and that competition didn't have orgeat. So I see, the tiki side of me is like, oh my God, that's not a Mai Tai. That's but then on the creative, like bartender, like competition, like that's kind of a cool idea, but is it a Mai Tai? And that's such a tough thing to ask, like a hardcore enthusiast versus somebody who's just like a cocktail enthusiast. But I think that, that's hard, man. I mean,
there were some that night where it was like, this is too weird for me. I don't see any Mai Tai in this. And then there were some that were like, this is a Mai Tai. Like you served me a 1944 Mai Tai, and that shouldn't necessarily win either, So finding that balance, those competitions.
Yeah, it was tough too. Yeah. I appreciated the challenge. I thought mine turned out pretty good, but then I tried some of the other competitors and was like, damn, these are really good too. I was just like, I didn't know what to expect coming to like, New England tiki, because like all I knew obviously of Boston is I've heard of Shore Leave. I've heard mixed things about Shore Leave. And then Wusong was, just barely a year old or about a year old. And I hadn't heard a whole lot from him, but I followed them on Instagram. And I had two really good friends of mine go there recently, and they said nothing but amazing things about it. So I just like went in there with like so much excitement, and like it just ended up, it was better than I thought it would be. Everyone was so much nicer than I thought they would be. Not that I thought everyone would be a bunch of, off-putting.
Okay, it's fair. It's fair.
But like, you just don't know. You don't like East Coast, Boston. Like, I would never equate tiki really to like New England, but it makes sense. And I got exposed to it, and I was like, I came out of that like really learning a lot more about like, just like how tiki has impacted other parts of the country. And I just kind of felt very naive to it all. And I was, like I said, I was only there for 36 hours. I Googled a bunch of stuff. I was, going to Wusong and Kowloon. I tried to go to Shore Leave, but my flight was leaving too soon. But I, those two alone, and just like really reading the menu, and like, it kind of made me dive deeper into like Chinese restaurants. And I remember going home and like Googling Chinese restaurants, New England area, and like looking at their cocktail menu and seeing how like there was a lot of influence in a lot of those restaurants. And I just was
100%.
Wow,
the tiki scene here is all Chinese restaurants.
And I think that's so cool. And it's just like really, it was really humbling and really interesting to learn how much different, like, we all know the tiki that we know started in Los Angeles. To see it, how when it finally got to the East Coast, how similar but different it is. It was just, I just thought it was such a learning experience and eye-opening experience. And I was very appreciative of that opportunity to come out. And like, it's still, I think like coming out there and competing really kind of like, I think it helped me become a little bit better bartender for sure. It helped.
You got to come back out. We're going to do another Mai Tai competition for Lunar New Year through the New England Tiki Society in February, wherever. I think the Lunar New Year is in February.
I want you guys to do a daiquiri competition too. I want to come out for that. I want to DAC off Let's do a Dak off.
I bet Back Bar would be into that. They would do it again.
Call it Dak off with your pants off. No, I'm just kidding. Everyone wears shorts.
But you know what? Whatever. Yeah, sure. You know what? Dak off. I'm for it. I think we get kind of a bad reputation. This is a tangent, but I recently went to Hawaii, and we were checking in Kauai at the car rental place. Okay, I'm in a good mood. I'm in Kauai, right? It's hard to be in a bad mood when you're in Hawaii. And we're checking in, and all of a sudden, the person behind the desk says, she looks at me and she says, "Did I do something wrong?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she said, "You just sound like really upset." And Angela, my fiance, says, "That's just his face." And the person behind the counter said, "Oh, I don't think I want to go to Boston anytime soon." But yeah, so we in New England we have a reputation as being kind of rough around the edge. Like if we like you, we'll razz you, and that's like how we show affection. But
yeah,
we're nice people.
I can see that. But I will say the New England Tiki community is very welcoming, very fun, very, very outgoing. Like I said, so much fun. That event was like 300 people. It was so packed. I was just so shocked. And it was just so nice to see a restaurant celebrate its 1-year anniversary with such a huge crowd. And I was really neat to see how much that place means to New England and the Tiki scene. Like, that, I mean, what they have going on at Wusong Road is such a special thing. Really, really cool building, really unique. I know it's really narrow, but I think how they utilize that space is so cool. I think it's great.
He's made so many changes too in the past 10 months. Jason, too.
I know. I follow him on Instagram. I've been seeing it. I think what Jason's doing. I can't wait to get back there. If I lived in New England, I would beg him for a job there. Definitely, 100%. I wouldn't want to work in.
I don't think you'd have to beg,
and I mean that full-heartedly. Like that is, if you're in the New England area, I think Wusong Road, the hospitality, the food, the drinks, and it's just such a good time. Like I can't say enough good things about that place, man. But yeah, when I get out there, I know you've mentioned it. Definitely, I want to go out there for a couple of days. I want to do kind of like a little like cocktail bar tour. So. I'll just have to get some like liquid IVs and make sure I'm just good. I don't know if I'll survive that. I'm getting older, man. I can't drink like I used to, but I think I can in the moment.
Well, hit me up when you do. We got plenty of space.
Oh yeah.
Of course. So here's another tangent. So one day I'm sitting at the upstairs bar of Wusong Road Tiki Bar, which by the way they're sponsors. So thank you to Wusong Road Tiki Bar. And I'm talking to Jason, the owner. Okay, and these people come down the hallway as they're leaving, and they come up to me and they say, "We just wanted to say thank you. We love this restaurant. We so appreciate you opening this tiki bar in Cambridge, Massachusetts." And I go to say, "Thank you, but I'm not the owner. The owner is Jason." And when I turn, Jason's gone. And the boy is booking it down the hallway because you get all these Instagram influencers that come in. They always want to talk to him. He's busy or whatever. So the joke now is that I own Wusong Road. And I don't own Wusong Road. But anytime someone comes up to them now and they're like, "Can I talk to the owner?" If I'm at the bar, they'll be like, "Right over there."
You should make business cards that say "not the owner."
Not the yes.
Put your contact, say Wusong back, "not the owner."
Yeah. Well, this is why I tell the story. This is a public service announcement. I am not the owner of Wusong Road. Find Jason, hunt him down, and don't let him keep throwing me under the bus to all the Instagram influencers.
Is he just kind of a shy guy when it comes to that stuff?
Yeah. I think he's an introvert.
He's such a nice guy.
All right, so we're running on time. I do want to talk about tiki mugs before we go.
Yeah.
Quick cocktail question. Some bartenders hate tiki mugs because you put a drink in it and it hides the drink. Yeah.
Oh,
you
really?
do all this effort in creating a cocktail, and you put it in a mug, and nobody can see it. They just see the mug. But based on your reaction,
I love it. No.
Yeah, you love it.
Here's the thing. This is how I look at it too sometimes. Sometimes the mug is so big and it doesn't reach the volume. I'm just like, I put a little crushed ice. I'm like, cool, I don't have to garnish this because you're not going to do it. So this is even quicker and easier. Straw,
Yep.
There you go. Thank you. I'm fine with it. I mean, I've never heard that. That's interesting. I'm not, no disrespect to some bartenders. I'm sure maybe they've had a few bad instances to have them come to this conclusion. Me personally, I love it. I have a lot of customers that come in and bring their mugs and they want me to put a drink in it. A lot of people will like buy a new mug, have them christen it, make a drink, and then I wash it for them, and then they never drink out of it again, just to have one drink out of it. So I get a lot of that, but I don't have a problem with it, to be honest. But that's interesting. I mean, I guess I can kind of see that, there's people that like, and it's no disrespect to bartenders and people creating cocktails and tiki bartenders, but like we all pick and choose what we care about. I don't know. I don't really care about the color of the drink, I guess. I don't know. No, I'm fine with it.
I have noticed
That's interesting.
Photographing my cocktails, right? If I'm sharing a recipe with someone and I put it in a mug, then they have no idea how to recreate it, right? Because in some ways you use the visual. So like if you were looking at a recipe book, right? I'm 10 times more likely to make a recipe if there's a picture of what the final product is supposed to look like than if there isn't a picture. So maybe
That's
it's
interesting. That's interesting because I'm the exact opposite. I don't need a picture.
Really?
It's probably because I bartend. But that's an interesting thing that you bring up as someone who does this for a living, as someone who does this, and no disrespect to you. I'm not saying that you don't know how to make drinks, but as someone who doesn't do this 5 days a week for hours, that does kind of make sense if you're not like, yeah, I mean, pictures do help, but yeah, that's interesting. I have this like really old, let's see, it's back here, this Trader Vic's. It's like a cocktail cookbook. We have this in here. It's really, really old, but there's some like weird, by the way, I don't know how I scored this 10 years ago. Not this book, but 10 years ago, I on eBay bought a copy of a first edition print 1947 or no, 1947, maybe not the first print, but like it's like the first series, 1947 Trader Vic's cocktail book. No pictures, hand-drawn illustrations, super small. I got it on eBay for $10. And then I bought another one to keep with me at work, and it was a repress, and it was like from 65. Unfortunately, I thought it was newer, put it in my backpack. It's all messed up on the edges now. It was like good condition. I kind of ruined it. Shame. But I have an extra copy. But now I've gone on and I've seen copies of it go for way more money. So I got really lucky with that cocktail book. But anyway, the reason I brought this is like, you look at this cocktail book and there's like, well, let me get past all the food stuff. There's a lot of interesting food stuff. Anyway, none of the cocktails. It's like, if it is, it's like a drawing.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
maybe that's a.
To me, I see these. I'm like, oh, I can do it. But I would say that like, I probably would. Yeah, it probably would help having a picture. And I'm sure like, if I were to can travel back in time and make this drink based on this and see how it was really made, I'm sure it would look completely different. But I don't know why I went on that tangent about Trader Vic cocktail.
Oh, that's okay. We love Trader Vic's. So,
but anyway, I
do want to bring up a photo here of a mug that recently came to Captain's Cabin in Phoenix. This is the designer of Doug Horn. We love Doug Horn. Doug Horn has designed
he's such a nice guy. He lives here in Phoenix now. Here, I have it right here. I don't have a light on it. I don't know where my light went. Oh, there's the back. There's the front. A good buddy of mine, David Outline out in Long Beach. He was so nice enough to make this mug for me. And I will tell you that this mug was like a 3-year process to make because I had approached Doug Horn and he was like, yeah, I would love to do that for you. you know, Doug is like one of the nicest guys. You know, I love him so much. So he designed the mug for me, and it took me over 2 years to get anybody to agree to make this mug. I emailed everybody you can think of under the sun. The only people that got back to me was him. Well, I actually cornered him at Tiki Oasis a couple years ago, and just asked him if he would do that. But the only other company that said they would do it was Tiki Farm. But unfortunately, I only wanted to make 100 mugs. I didn't want to do a big run, and Tiki Farm had a minimum. So
I think
that was
for those people wondering. I believe it's 500 mug minimum
Yes.
in Mexico, which would be a single colored glaze, or 1,000 piece in China, where you get all the multiple mugs.
correct. Yeah. And Tiki Farm is great. I'll be honest. Holden has been great. You know, helping me get mugs made for Hula's next door. We brought back an old Hula's mug that was from 2009. Yeah, there it is. That's the brown glaze. We just dropped the green one. Let me see. We have a green color of it. It's kind of hard here. I still have my Halloween red lights on here in the bar, but
It's spooky.
this is the last glaze of this design. When this mug is gone, it is gone. We are not making this style anymore. Hula's is gonna do a new mug. Next year is the 15th anniversary of Hula's, so I'm trying to working with Tiki Farm to try and get a mug made for Hula's to celebrate 15 years of being Hula's in Phoenix, which I think is a pretty good accomplishment. Just back what we were talking about earlier with restaurants closing here and there, and it's extremely competitive market.
Yeah, the number, it's like, don't quote me on this, but I think it's like 80 to 90% of restaurants close within the first 3 years.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a very tough industry to.
Oh, and I will say another plug too. I did have Doug Horn make me my Mai Tai glasses. Might be kind of hard to see in the dark. It's got brown, but my Mai Tai is like yellow, so it makes this dark brown pop when my Mai Tai is in it. But I got these Mai Tai glasses made. Doug Horn did these too for me, which is so nice of him. And it's really cool being able to get some merchandise and some stuff here in the cabin. It's been a process trying to get that going along. It's not the end. I'm trying to get some swizzle sticks in here soon. I would love to get some matchbooks, even though smoking is not allowed in bars. I have so many cool bar matchbooks, especially Tiki bar matchbooks.
Those are my favorite things to collect because they're also one of the most affordable things to collect.
Yes.
Tiki mugs used to be cheap, but now over time they've gotten expensive. Yeah. So now if you want a souvenir, take one. You got the matchbooks.
Yeah, so, I love matchbooks. Definitely, I want to get some I want to get some merch in here. So it's a slow process, but it's like these things all cost money. I'm a super small bar, so I have to when I have a good month or two, then I can put some of my revenue towards merchandise. So,
do you have those 3 items available right now? The Mai Tai glass?
I just have Mai Tai glasses, and I have about 20 mugs left, and that's it. Okay. I have plenty of Mai Tai glasses. That's something I'm always going to keep in stock. Eventually, I'm going to start using them in service. I just haven't done it yet because I need to recoup some more costs and make a little bit of profit off them before, because I know they're going to start walking out. I expect that to happen, but I just don't want
to do that
yet. Yeah. So I just want to make, I'm just trying to, make a little more money off this, so I'm not completely in the hole before I start putting them in service. But, yeah, I mean, it happens. People take things. It's unfortunate. It's why I don't use tiki mugs for any of my cocktails anymore, because they would just walk out. Even those standard mugs. If I had if it wasn't just me and I had someone at the door, servers watching, that'd be one thing. But it's just me, and things just walk out sometimes when it's busy,
So the 20 mugs that you have still, are those the Lighthouse ones or the?
Yes, correct. Hula's, I don't know how many more mugs we have of the Hula's. We have 3 locations. I'm not quite sure how many cases each location got. We do still have some. Those are only $35. And my mug is $125. It's a bit more than I kind of struggle with the price. They weren't very cheap to make, but I kind of priced it a little higher, like I said, to make a little extra money because I want to put that money back into the bar to do more merchandise. So
That's
honestly,
that's on the low end.
It is, and it's tough. It's like
edition mug.
I don't want to charge too much so people can't get it, but at the same time, like the purpose of this mug, not only getting a mug out there, was like I was trying to make a nice profit off them too to fund some other things. So it's been good, like. So, but I only have 100. So when they're gone, they're gone. They're gone.
So
forever.
Go to Captain's Cabin in Phoenix. Go see Captain David, and buy one of those mugs before they're gone.
Yes.
I do, before we say adieu, I want to bring in Jason T. Smith, because I think it's important that we talk to one of your guests from the bar.
Yes.
And kind of get his perspective. So I'm going to bring in Jason right now. Let's see, get him in here.
Look at that guy.
What's happening, everybody?
Dang.
Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you guys. I wanted to pop in real quick, and I know this is gonna bum you out, Dave, but I'm going to sing your praises.
Oh no!
I just get really shy.
And I know.
But
here's what's great about Captain Dave, and any bartender of any bar that you go to, no matter if it's tiki or not, if your bartender knows you well enough to know what you drink, how you drink it, blah blah blah, that's a great bartender. Now, I live in I live in Vegas and work in Vegas. My wife, most of the time, lives and works in Phoenix, so we travel back and forth. And so every time I get to town, the first stop, I drive all the way past the bar, pick up my wife in Tempe, and then drive back to the bar, and we have drinks with Dave. And so I'm not a regular like most regulars because I'm only in town maybe twice a month. But when
I think you're a regular. I
appreciate that. When I was getting my hips replaced, I was in the middle of misery, and I stopped in the bar because my mom was in town, and I only had 2 drinks. And you said, "Where are you going?" You only had 2 drinks. So Dave knew exactly that I usually drink 3. And then when I showed up at 9 o'clock a couple of weeks ago with Stacy, you're like, "What are you doing here so late?" Because I'm usually a 6 o'clock drinker. So
yeah.
But the reason I say that is because I'm not there as often as others, and you knew exactly who I am, what I am, how I drink, and I really appreciate that in a great bartender. And you don't put yourself up there with the best, but you absolutely are. And Stacy and I have traveled the world, hitting tiki bars, probably been to about 150 of them all over the world. And you are always in the top 5 without fail.
Wow.
We've never had a bad drink there, and you always change things up, and you do fun stuff like this.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah. So we really appreciate you, and it's an amazing bar. If you are in Phoenix and haven't been yet, shame. Because it's amazing.
Thank you.
It's absolutely amazing. So get to Captain's Cabin as soon as you can. But don't steal my seat.
Don't steal it. You're making me tear up a little bit, man.
Yeah, I actually, definitely. I'm glad it's dark and you can't see. I definitely got teared up too. Thank you. I mean, that was like such a nice thing for you to say. Like, I just kind of feel like I'm just this like super nerdy rum tiki guy. And I work really hard in this bar, and I don't always understand. I don't always get if everyone gets what I'm doing or like. Really, like I know people appreciate it, but I guess I don't know to what extent. I feel like, I don't know. It just
I as you guys talked about tiki nerds, I'm definitely one of those. I mean, I'm wearing my favorite syrups shirt, BG Reynolds, so that's how much of a nerd I am.
I love it.
But I love that you do adhere to the classics and how they're made, but then you also have the Captain Dave touch, and so I'm not so straight line that I'm like, no, it has to be exact like it was in 34. No, screw that. I do like the adventuresome that you do with some of the stuff, and just the whole place. The whole place is so warm and cozy and awesome. I remember the first time I walked through that door, I was like, oh, I'm home. This is effing awesome. And then you just razzle dazzled us to no end, and we love hanging out with you, buddy.
That's because I'm just challenging. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's got to be challenging too when it's kind of a one-man show. It's a small space. It's you. You're doing so much of the work, and to still be able to make that connection with people on the other side of the bar is pretty crazy. I wouldn't be able to do it. I would lose my mind. I'd be like, please don't talk to me. I got to make these drinks.
Yeah, I mean, there's some times where I'm having conversations in the well, and I'm just like, oh no, I just messed this up. It happens on occasion. I'm only human. But yeah, no, I love just talking and meeting people, and just hearing about their days, and gossiping about like food restaurants and like music and movies, and like I just kind of like, I appreciate everyone coming in here, and like I said, spending their money on this in this bar. I just want everyone to feel like it's appreciated. I'm appreciative that they're here, because these people are helping. They're paying my bills. Like I'm nothing. I'm honestly nothing without my customers, and I really do feel that way. Like this bar wouldn't be where it is for everyone coming in here and spending money. So I try to like make sure that I let everyone feel welcome, even the people that are annoying. I'm just like, hey, come back again. Like
What? Annoying guest at a bar? What?
Funny. I had three. Actually, I had three questions for you. One of them was, have you ever 86'd anyone from Captain's Cabin?
Yeah, 2 people.
Wow. All right.
2.
How much do you enjoy the looks on people's faces when they walk through the door and they realize they're in the wrong place because they're looking for hulas and they're just like a deer in the headlights?
That happens a lot.
It does. I see it every time.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's just like sometimes people are like completely like thrown off and scared and nervous. I think I don't think I like to see people walk out, but it's just really funny how someone walk in like, oh, what is this? No, we're in the wrong place. And you can just see it in their face, or they're like, nope, and they walk out. That part's that part's funny. When they have a really animated reaction, like I get a kick out of that. But they usually do end up coming back in afterwards for ooh, this is a nice like setup. I like it all. It's nice, like nice and closed up. I do realize after seeing this that like I probably should have borrowed a really nice camera because you guys look nice and clear and I'm pixelated.
You got that spooky 13 Nights of Tiki Frights atmosphere going on.
Yeah, man.
I love it.
Yeah, I do. I even wore a Halloween shirt.
I saw that. It's awesome. All right, my last question is: has there ever been a moment where the Captain's Cabin is completely empty when you're open?
Yeah.
Has it really?
No.
Yes. Yeah. Last weekend, Friday and Saturday, the first 20 minutes, there was nobody waiting. No, was it last weekend? Maybe it was one of the days. It's happened a few times here and there. Well, here's the thing. Little backstory. I'm Jason, I know you this, but like, our weather's starting to cool off here. So now the nights are getting kind of be like a little warm and nice. So I'm thinking there's more events going on. We have the state fair down the street. Oktoberfest was last weekend and stuff. So I think that I'm kind of a slow burn starting right now because the weather is just now starting to change and everyone wants to be outside doing something fun. But here, give it a couple more weeks. People are going to get over it and they're going to be coming back here and lining up again. So it's just that first initial season change. But yeah, it's always about this time of year. And right when it starts getting really hot. Those are the 2 times when I open and it takes like 20 minutes before someone walks in. Not often, but it does happen.
On the busy days, how do people get in? How early do they got to show up?
There's people that get it 30 minutes early. Just wait there.
That would be awesome.
Line. Yeah. 15 to 30 minutes early. Yeah. I don't have a host or anything. It's just first come. You just kind of like cram in and stuff. And luckily, I have hulas next door. So if someone is hungry or they want to wait or they want to like have a cocktail while they're waiting for a spot to open up, they can just walk right next door and do that. So instead of like, if I was like, not next to anything, people would just have to wait outside or they would just probably just leave. So I think having the restaurant next door does help keep people here, and then they'll try again in 20, 30 minutes when seats open up. So, but yeah, you just got to just roll the dice and just try to come in. I don't do any limits. I don't do any reservations. I just kind of keep it like, come in, find a seat, stand if you want, make friends, have a drink.
Hey, when we're both doing our thing at Superstition Village, I'm gonna slip you a 20 to start. If you could just keep my glass full. I didn't get a cocktail till 4 hours in last time. I mean, I was busy too, but I'm gonna give you a little starter, and if you just keep it full, I'll be good.
I don't know.
Probably
Jason. I think it's going to take a little bit more than a 20.
That's the starter.
Friends.
That's the starter. Okay.
Yeah, I heard last year was intense. I felt really bad for Tiki Dan. He got destroyed.
He still killed it though. Like he kept it. Like he did not.
He kept
stop
us cool. Everyone said, I mean, he's such a rad dude. I love that guy so much. He's one of my best friends. But yeah, this year there's 4 of us that are doing it with him. We all have shifts, so I'm gonna be doing like the early morning, like 10 a.m. to 2, because I still have to come all the way back here and open up. I have a rental that night, the first couple hours, so I'm gonna have to book it after my bartending gig there and drive all the way here to the cabin. So, but it's the things we do for Tiki, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's either do that or not participate. And I really want to be a part of this event because it looked a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
And Jeremy, shout out to Jeremy.
Big up.
Super cool. Guys, if you don't know, Jeremy, who does Superstition Village, also runs TikiManiacs.com, and he actually just released a pretty cool mug called Professor Price. It is
it's beautiful.
Endorsed by the Vincent Price estate, and it's Vincent Price with that classic tiki. So, guys,
do you have a photo of it? No. No?
Let's see if the Menahune, who's no longer behind the scenes, can pull up a photo.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's a beautiful mug. I mean, I have a picture on my phone, but it's not going to look as good unless you do it.
Yeah, I got it. Hold, please.
Also, his event mug for the event is really great too. It's an homage to an old Polynesian restaurant we had here in Phoenix called the Islands. The Islands.
Yep.
And
which
that
is
event
actually
mug is killer.
Which is actually used to be right down the street from the cabin. Yeah, look at that mug. That's such a cool mug.
What I love about the most, Dave, is the official Vincent Price sticker on the bottom.
Yeah,
so cool
I mean
to
that's
have
just,
that on there.
That's so cool.
Jeremy's a super cool dude. He was on our show a couple years ago when he released his Groovy Greg one with Barry Williams. Barry Williams was on the show as well, which is crazy. But guys, support Tiki Maniacs whether you go to Superstition Village, which is coming right up beginning of November in Arizona, or go buy the Professor Price mug. With that said,
do both.
Do both. There you go. Why do
It'll
or?
Be Saturday, November 4th. What was that?
I said, why do or when you can do and?
Yes, exactly. By the way, that mug you have in your hand is pretty awesome.
Right. So this mug, guys, we're going to take a closer look in just a second, but this is literally called Squid's Big Old Booty on the Rocks. And Squid, he's a legend in the tiki industry. He actually sculpted, I believe, the Tiki Bandit that Captain David has tattooed on his body. He was with Tiki Farm in the early days. He's done hundreds of mugs. We're going to give this mug away. And then I have an exciting announcement about Squid. So let's do this. We're going to take a closer look at the mug, announce the winner, and then we're going to make an exciting announcement. All right, guys. So the winner of Squid's Big Old Booty is Caroline Hutcherson. So congratulations, Caroline. You're taking home Squid's Big Old Booty Tiki Mug by Tiki Bauer. Please send me an email at admin@searchfortiki.com within 14 days to claim your prize. Once again, congratulations, Caroline Hutcherson. With that said, guys, Squid, actually, I've had the pleasure of working with him on many sculpts, but he wanted to design a mug for me. And so he did that. And we actually will be releasing it within the next week.
Are you going to post a picture or are you just going to say that?
Okay. So no, but I'll show you a teaser. How about that? Is that good enough? All right, let's pull this up here. We do a series because I'm kind of a feline fanatic of cats versus tiki icons. And what that is cats, because they notoriously, if you're a pet owner, they defile things in your house. So the first one started with Doug Horn, and he did Bad Kitty, which was a cat using a classic Andres Bumate tiki as a scratching post. And then we worked with Kim Bang on Tiki Bobcat, and that was the tiki mug that broke the internet because several people called it the end of tiki because it, you put a straw in the cat's butt. Okay, I'll just say it.
That's
Surfside
funny.
Steps, go buy some straws. Well, now there's a third one. This was both designed and sculpted by Squid. So we'll show right here. This is coming out pretty soon, within a week, I dare say. And we're going to be going live with another artist on Thursday, Low Tiki. And during that live, we're going to reveal the next mug, the third mug in the Cast versus Tiki Icon series, designed and sculpted by Squid. And it's going to go on sale shortly after that. So, guys,
You're
tune
such
in
a
on
tease.
Thursday.
You're such a tease.
Such a tease. Yep.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm pretty excited for it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. And with that said, Captain David, where can people go to follow you and stay in touch with what you've got going on?
My Instagram handle probably is the best way. My handle is @_Captain David _. I'm sure Jason can probably put it up there. Yes, maybe.
Well, I'm trying. Yeah. Oh, it helps add the image. I'm a dummy.
Yay! Oh, look at that! Look at that! Look at that headshot! Look at that headshot!
So gorgeous, so gorgeous.
Yeah, I had to get that done for World Class. They wanted a headshot submitted for that, so
You have so many headshots, but did they want it on like the clean background?
They wanted it like that, and you know what the funny thing is? They gave an example, and it was a woman with her arms crossed like that. And when I sent it to my buddy, who's a photographer, he's like, "Do you want to do it just like she did?" I'm like, "Hell yes, I do." So I look like somebody who's about to like come to a table and like a GM for like Cheesecake Factory or something. Yes. How can I help you? This seems to be an issue.
I had that happen
yeah,
on. So I went to get my passport, right, so I could travel. And you go to a place to get your pictures taken. And when I'm getting my picture taken, I go to smile, and the person taking the photo says, "Dude, you can't smile in your passport photo. What are you doing?" Okay, so I get the picture, and then I go to submit the documents, and the person who does the passport says, "Why aren't you smiling?" And I said, "They told me I couldn't smile," and she said, "That's a lie. I hate when they do that. You look stupid. Smile next time." So,
Yeah, I heard you can smile.
yeah. It's not a mugshot.
Like I was told when I got my driver's license too, the guy's like, "Don't smile," and I still smiled. And he's like, "Don't smile," and I just held the picture. I was like, I don't understand why you're so cranky.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Then you just look grumpy every time you go through TSA. You're like,
yeah,
I don't want to hang out with that guy. No way.
I want to look happy, so then the TSA doesn't think I'm a jerk. Oh no, this guy looks super pissed off. Let's search his bag. This guy looks suspicious. He's probably smuggling illegal bottles of rum.
I mean, I agree. Captain David does look suspect in that gloomy red light.
Totally. Exactly.
All right, buddy. So, final question of the night before we let you go. Thank you again for joining us, guys.
Yeah, this
Captain
has been
David on Instagram.
so much fun. I'm always down to do this. I like the spontaneous questions. You asked a lot of good ones. I love it. You made me think on a few of them. I appreciate that too.
That's good. We like that. We like to make.
Yeah. All right. Give me. What's the final question? Let's
final question. What should we be looking out for? Is Captain's Cabin going to be doing anything for the holidays? Your pop-ups? What's going on?
Oh, that is good. So yes, Captain's Cabin. Yeah, I'll be. I do fun stuff for the holidays. I'll be decorated. But me personally, not only am I doing the Superstition Marketplace, I'm also going to, at the end of the month, I am actually going to Cozumel, Mexico, for a creepy tiki fest at a tiki bar called Coco Mama Tiki Room. I think it's Coco Mama. There's a big, Halloween, Day of the Dead tiki fest. I haven't got all the details yet, but I believe one of my guest bartending spots, there we go. One of the guest bartending spots, I'm going to be bartending on a boat during a sunset cruise. So that sounds a lot of fun. I'm going to be doing a seminar. I don't know what yet. That is TBD. But I have that coming up. I also am going to do, I have another pop-up in November I'm doing. I'm not going to give any details because it's going to be super fun. But middle of November, I'm going to be doing a pop-up with some friends in downtown Phoenix. And then, I don't know, I have a lot of things in the pipeline as maybes, and I don't want to like jinx it, but definitely some out of town stuff, California, maybe some Utah, maybe, I don't know. Hopefully Boston next year.
I heard you might be bartending at the Den of Sin.
Yeah, I'll come to Vegas. Definitely. Honestly, I'm due for a Vegas trip, and honestly, I need to reach out to Golden Tiki because I know they do guest spots. I know you can help that Jason, but that'd be fun to do something there too.
I was just texting Adam Raines right now. Matter of fact,
I think that'd be a lot of fun to do something in Vegas. I have a really good buddy of mine who's good friends with Adam too, so it'd be kind of fun. Maybe a couple of us can go in there and do like a 3-hour takeover of
3-hour tour.
Yeah, there you
Hopefully
go.
it ends a little bit better than the Gilligans.
Honestly, I'm just pushing for me to eventually get a shrunken head in that bar. That's what I want.
Go. I believe in
That
you.
is my goal. One day, that'd be super awesome.
I'll start sending them emails like it's a politician. Like contact your local legislator.
Maybe
Contact Golden Tiki.
They might be like, who is this guy? But maybe I can just give them a little razzle dazzle when I'm there. They're like, oh, okay. Here you go, sir.
Well,
but
Captain David, with that said, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you. It was
pleasure.
so much fun.
We'll see you again soon in Boston, hopefully, and I'm excited for all the stuff that you got coming up. Just a couple final mentions. Plantation Rum, guys. Plantation Rum, thank you so much for sponsoring.
Yeah, thank you.
Tiki Frights. These videos could not happen without Plantation Rum. They are a huge support. Ta-da! Plantation.
Wait.
Here's to Holden Westland of Tiki Farm. Tiki Farm is another one of our sponsors every year for 13 Nights at Tiki Frights, and Holden has been supportive of the Search for Tiki and 13 Nights at Tiki Frights from day one. Cannot thank them enough for his support. And then also Don the Beachcomber, guys. Don the Beachcomber is coming back to Florida in a big way. They're talking about opening multiple locations in phased throughout the next couple of years. Marie King is doing an awesome job bringing Don the Beachcomber back to life. It is an official return of Don the Beachcomber. And so check that out soon. Guys, with that said, Captain David, thank you so much. Menahune behind the scenes, thank you so much for your help.
You're very welcome.
Video,
Happy to help.
All of our videos with doing all the comments and the titles and everything. So guys, cheers. And we'll see you on Thursday with Low Tiki. We're going to announce a cool squid bug. See you then.